Hi, I'm Catherine Garceau, the author of Swimming Out of Water and the co-founder of the Eat 360 program, which is why I'm interviewing Dave Siever today. Dave is the founder and CEO of Mind Alive and the inventor of the David devices, which stands for Digital Audio-Visual Integration Device. And so thank you, Dave, for spending this time with me today. I have had such an incredible experience using your technology, and I was so impressed. I was feeling calmer. I gained more resilience in dealing with stress in life, and I even watched my eating habits becoming more and more normalized. And that's when I thought, wow, this has to be part of the solutions that I provide my people and women who are also possibly still struggling with food addictions and imbalanced eating patterns. So to start, I would love to ask you why and how this technology is actually benefiting us in our eating patterns, and why is that? I know for me it's definitely brought a sense of peace and allowed me to take time out in a way that seems to just continue getting better. So how is it that works?
Well, Catherine, first I'd like to say thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to interview me. I appreciate it very much. At Mind Alive, yes, we have taken strides for many, many years now to help people with issues of eating and so on. How audiovisual entrainment works is there's 4 cornerstones to how this improves our health and our mental and brain functioning. The first is dissociation. And that is when people start getting caught up in anxiety and anxious thoughts and stress, maybe depressed thoughts, the brain starts to race. And it races and races and races, and you can't stop it. And that just adds further to the distress and more likely to have some type of an addictive disorder or addictive behavior follow that. The second thing is that it boosts cerebral blood flow. When people are under stress and anxiety, the body shunts blood flow from the brain and puts it into the body, into our muscles, to prepare us for battle or for flight or fight. And then we don't reason well. We struggle with decisions. We often make impulsive decisions, and we often get ourselves in more trouble, which leads to more stress and anxiety.
Well, and on that front, actually, there was a study done for anorexics who they showed because of gluten intolerance, it was causing a hypoperfusion in the brain, and it was actually altering the way that they were seeing their bodies. So obviously we want blood flow to be restored in the brain, and it definitely can help with body image and how we even view our bodies.
It's amazing how many things influence our brains, right down to how we think about things and how we perceive ourselves, friends, neighbors, and so on, or life in general, that have nothing, and we think we're in control, but we're not. The food we eat can completely trigger or shift how we perceive the world and life, universe, and everything.
Right.
The third thing is neurotransmitter boosting. Pretty much in all cases when people have had long-term anxiety, and it doesn't matter what the anxiety is from work or from stress or from always feeling that you're too heavy or too skinny or you're not good enough for other people or we're never good enough for your parents. Whatever, there's a conflict in our mind, there's usually an anxiety that gets set up. And of course, there's a lot of financial anxieties these days as well with people. And that causes a further loss of neurotransmitters. Particularly long-term anxiety depletes serotonin, it depletes norepinephrine, depletes endorphins to some degree. And audiovisual entrainment boosts these neurotransmitters. It also, audiovisual entrainment, you can affect EEG, or the brainwave activity of your brain. You can adjust the frequencies up or down. Again, when people get into long-term stress and anxiety and they start getting into addictive type behaviors, it's very common that their brain is actually running kind of slow. And we call this a no-brakes brain. And so they have difficulty inhibiting themselves from doing things, and a lot of their behavior becomes emotionally based.
Well, and it's kind of a vicious cycle, right? Because like you're saying, the stress can come from so many different areas of life, including emotional traumas from childhood or emotional triggers that continue to come at us all day long when we haven't addressed the the root cause of why we get triggered in the first place.
Oh, very true. Exactly. These are all side effects of a root cause, and we're addressing always the side effects, not the root cause. But the side effects themselves form their own root causes as they spin out.
Exactly. And I think that's why I really loved how this device allowed, it sort of felt for me like it was the glue that ended up allowing all the other work that I had done for myself and my continued healing journey to stick and to be calm enough and peaceful enough to just watch everything fall in place. So I can see how addressing some of these symptoms actually end up allowing us to go deeper in our healing and addressing the root causes even more.
Well, that is absolutely so true, Catherine, for sure. And let me show you some more slides actually on that. Of course, the only thing that really keeps us really stable is basically to be a meditative kind of a stance. And stress and anxiety throws us way out from that. And so I'll show you how the equipment helps get us back on track. One of the first things it does, it dissociates us. Typically within about a 5 to 10 minute span, as you probably noticed when you were on the gear, it erased all those negative thoughts that were spinning around in your mind.
Maybe not all.
Maybe not all, but a good lot of them. Good lot of them,
Yeah,
yeah. And as it happens, your body starts to restabilize. And you start slipping into, especially if you're running frequencies in the alpha range, which are typically 8 to about 12 hertz.
How would you describe the alpha range?
The alpha range is frequencies in around 8 cycles per second to about as high as 12. Typically, though, we would emulate meditative frequencies, which are generally between about 7.8 hertz and 10.
Normally, when we're going about our day, the alpha range needs to be in that window for us to be productive and at peace, or how does it relate to our day-to-day?
True, it does. Now, the alpha is kind of a tricky thing because it's both a healing frequency and it's a pathological frequency. For instance, as we get stressed out, we start getting into this alpha, but it's undesirable alpha. We're not asking for it. We're just fogging and we're losing our inhibitions. We're starting to develop emotional behaviors. But when you intentionally force yourself to make alpha, like a meditator does, then there's all kinds of healing benefits from that, including the quiet mind, the increased cerebral blood flow, the improved neurotransmitters, and so on. And this gear basically forces the brain into an alpha state in a healing type of way. And when you're done, the alpha actually gets eliminated.
So that's why we feel that positive effect right after, and it also translates in becoming, more at peace, focused, or productive, whatever we're about to do.
That's correct, yeah. We start putting our energies actually into what we want to do instead of all these side tracks that are emotionally based and from a brain that's not running on all cylinders.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's some benefits of meditation, for instance. EEG alpha typically goes up, but in a healthy way. You get more relaxed. Your hands get drier because stress and anxiety makes your hands sweaty. Respiration gets nice and smooth and relaxed. Your oxygen levels go up, and that's important too.
Absolutely.
Good functioning brain needs oxygen. Your sympathetic or your flight or fight type activity starts to settle down, and you get more calm, more relaxed. Your hands warm up, and so on. And if you use this a lot, you actually will stay younger because stress certainly ages us quickly.
Absolutely.
And you can tell, look at me. I've used this gear for years. I'm actually 93.
That's great.
If only, hey?
Looking good.
Yeah. So here's an example here of a person who has a lot of stress. And you can tell that this person has a lot of stress because their hand temperature is 75 degrees. Those are cold, cold fingers. You touch that person, you're going to jump. And you can see at about the 6-minute mark, as the person dissociated into this meditative stance, their hands really started to warm. We can see here too, this other person has very sweaty fingers from being stressed again. And about 6 minutes as this person dissociates into a meditative type state, their hands start getting dry and the resistance or the conductance goes down. And here's a person with a lot of tension. Now, EMG is an electromyograph, so muscle tension in the forearm. And we can see here again, about 6 minutes in, as this person drifts into a trance, all that muscle tension starts to go. Well, when this happens, when the body gets into such a relaxed state, it is no longer needy. Neediness really comes from being anxious. When we're anxious, we have these neurotransmitter depletions. We start becoming needy. whether it's shopping or whether it's eating donuts or French fries or cookies or whatever it is.
Or needing more love from the
or needing
other
more
people.
love. Yeah, exactly. And we get needy. So when we're relaxed, we're not needy. We're in a nice, calm place. We're grounded. We're together, and we can function from want, not from need.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example. Now, this is the second cornerstone of the audiovisual experience, and this is the increased cerebral blood flow. Now, we can see something that's interesting here. At 7.8 hertz, we have maximum cerebral blood flow. Well, that's a deep meditative state to be in. And Fox and Rakely found that also gives maximum boost in cerebral blood flow, which does all kinds of good things for the brain. It really makes us sharp. It makes us attentive. It helps us reason and make good decisions and non-emotionally based decisions when our blood flow is high. Mm-hmm. Here is a Sheely's study on neurotransmitters.
This is the third cornerstone?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. This is the third cornerstone. And Sheely found that a few things, when he exposed people to 10 hertz audiovisual entrainment, melatonin levels dropped 6%. Well, melatonin is the neurotransmitter that is involved in seasonal affective disorder. Mm-hmm. And so by getting that lower helps the brain feel more alive, upbeat, and ready to go. And if it doesn't, then people are going to want to have coffee and again, donuts and carbs and to try to get it spiked. So many people in the world nowadays, and we ran a study on SAD a while ago, and people throughout Texas, California, Florida even have SAD because they're living in apartment buildings or in their homes all the time. And ultraviolet light does not get through glass, and we need to get the ultraviolet light in our eyes to prevent SAD. But the other thing is that, of course, endorphins help us feel relaxed and good with ourselves and peaceful with ourselves. But in particular is the serotonin and norepinephrine. As we struggle with anxiety long term and we start to falling into maybe a malaise or a depressed mood, serotonin and norepinephrine are they're dropped.
Yes.
Yeah. They're way down. And what Sheely found was using white light stimulation that he could boost serotonin and norepinephrine. Well, serotonin by 23% and norepinephrine by 18%, which is fantastic increases in brain, those brain neurotransmitters.
Yeah.
He could do this outside of 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm convinced this has been a big part of the benefits I've gotten from the technology, because I know I had done a lot of tests over the years, and they were seeing not only from the stress over the years, even as an athlete, we push ourselves so hard, and for other athletes who have depleted their banks of serotonin, dopamine, there really is something to say about this technology's ability to raise those levels without taking, for me, herbs and amino acids didn't seem to create that positive of effect. So I'm really excited about this, because it's like getting out of the pill popping, even if it's natural, and really allowing yourself to calm down every time is a really great practice, because I can go into meditation now even without the technology, because it's training my body to do it.
Yeah, very true. In fact, even if you're flooded with serotonin and norepinephrine in the brainstem where it's made, you cannot get it in the rest of the brain unless you have an attitude that allows it to flow into the rest of the brain.
Right. Wow, that's a good point.
Yeah, the second you have a fear-based thought, and it could be, oh my God, there's someone in the back alley who looks suspicious, or I have bills to pay and I can't afford it, or I look ugly because I just watched.
Or these pills are so expensive and they don't work anyways.
Yeah, exactly, and they don't work anyways, and they're expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I just saw a supermodel on TV and I look fat and dumpy, and I have self-rejection. As soon as you have a negative thought, serotonin shuts down within about 2 seconds.
Interesting.
It's preparing us for battle. And then typically norepinephrine will really spike, and we'll often get aggressive. It spikes way too high. But just moderate levels of norepinephrine increases like we see here, along with the serotonin increase, makes us feel happy, energetic, and sharp, and wanting to socialize and talk to our friends and have fun and stuff. And or engage maybe in whatever project we might be working on. But it gives us that energy, that sense of sharpness, and we can do things throughout our day then. Yeah.
That's awesome.
To get this naturally could take months of meditation, or being on
years,
a mountaintop,
really.
or maybe even years. Yeah. And here's a little study we did on insomnia. Excuse me.
And this is great too, because a lot of the women I've worked with that struggle with food, they actually started way years ago to experience insomnia.
Yeah.
And over time, the fatigue ended up creating more and more cravings. So
Yeah.
I think it's really related.
Well, those who struggle with insomnia and struggle with food have the same root cause. Typically, their serotonin will be low. Probably dopamine will be low as well. And given that that entrainment dissociates us from all our thinking, and it boosts serotonin, it's only natural that it will help us with sleep onset. And in this study here that we had done, you can see sleep onset reduced from 40 minutes to 23 minutes on average. How much did we awake after we fell asleep was reduced significantly. How many times did we awake in the night was reduced from 1.9 to 1.6. How do we feel when we woke up? Well, we like to feel good when we wake up. If we feel crappy, then we're for sure going to be eating a donut or a cookie or some sugar-laced cereal or something. So quality of sleep and feeling upon awake were improved tremendously using the gear. The depression went down, as we can see with this Beck Depression Index. But we're looking at a couple other things that are pretty interesting. Somatic causes improved some. Now, somatic causes, some of the participants in this study were struggling with pain and discomfort. But cognitive causes was reduced very significantly. And that's what you think about during the day and how does it interfere with your ability to sleep at night. And so we can see it. There were big improvements there.
Yeah, huge.
Here's another little study we did on seasonal affective disorder. Now, although seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, is caused from lack of ultraviolet stimulation throughout the winter months, it is very similar, though, to people who might be deficient in nutrition or struggling with long-term anxiety. The brain is in a similar state. Even people with a little cognitive decline or maybe ADD of the non-hyperactive type, similar brain waves. And they have similar effects. But here we can see on the Beck Depression, we're looking at, on the left-hand side of 3 bars there, those 3 bars, the magenta, the blue, and the red bars, those are November, December, January. And we can see that the control group there their depression is high. The treatment group started off matched with the controls, and then we put them on a placebo condition. And sometimes placebo typically does have an effect on people to some degree. But when we gave them the real treatment here, which was at 20 hertz, and this was designed to inhibit those long strings of alpha waves, which were, in this case, pathological. They're not a meditative type of alpha wave. And so they're pathological. And when we inhibited those alpha waves with the entrainment, we can see that the entire group is no longer depressed.
Wow.
Well, if you're not depressed, good things happened in your life. Your mood problems on the right go down. And if mood problems go down, what's going to happen to your social life? It's just going to get better, right? And so it does improve tremendously. If you could imagine, if your depressed mood goes down and your negative thoughts go down, of course your mood problems are going to go down too, as we see here. And if your mood problems go down, it's just going to be, as you see in this group, their family social life improved and their work social life improved. So they were sharper, they were feeling better, they were having more fun.
Fun! Life can be fun.
Who would have thought?
I know, right?
Yes. One of our little secrets. Life
Yeah.
can be fun. And this slide is very fascinating because this ties the whole eating into how you feel. And if you feel good, as these people did, their overeating went down, their appetite went down, their carb intake went down, and their energy went up. So of course, if they're feeling better, they're sharper, they got more energy, they're feeling good. Their overeating is going to go down, their appetite is going to go down, their carb intake went down, and their energy went up. So instead of having a net excess of calories flowing into their bodies, they're having a deficit of calories, meaning they're losing weight. And in this study, there was a subgroup of women who put on an average winter gain of 15 pounds. We can see here during the placebo condition, which has often a little bit of an effect, they lost 3 pounds over a roughly 2-week span. And when we gave them the stimulation at 20 hertz, which inhibits that alpha that gives them the drudgery, malaise feelings, they lost another 9.5 pounds, totaling 12.5 pounds over that month. There are a lot of very excited ladies in this study who bought gear after the study had completed.
Well, and I think the most exciting part is we mentioned weight loss, but it's not out of a controlled diet or, just feeling badly about having to lose weight. It's literally just doing things that are improving our moods and the way we feel. And sort of byproduct, we end up having more grace with food, which is so exciting.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
We can actually enjoy our food, but we don't need the food.
Yeah, we don't need it so much.
Yeah. Usually food that we need, I mean, it increases dopamine and serotonin, but often we don't feel that great after we've eaten it anyway. It's not good for our bodies, it's not good for our brains.
You might be talking about those foods that maybe we're intolerant to, or the extra dessert that we really just need out of that craving, but it's not actually nourishing our bodies.
Exactly. Donuts, cookies, sugary stuff, it gives us that little buzz. But in the end, we feel more tired, more drained after the glycemic, or after the insulin has spiked and settled down, and we don't get any nutrition, and in the end over time, we end up feeling way lousier because our nutrition is so void, which means we have to eat more carbs to try to keep feeling good. So it does become a serious addiction over time.
Well, Dave, this is so exciting because the research was done, and I think that's one of the factors that makes you at the cutting edge of this technology in this field, right? I think there's been 40 or more companies that have come and gone with entrainment devices. What makes you at the leading edge right now?
We take a lot of pride, actually, in being at the leading edge, and that is why we're still here. We've done the one key thing that no one else has done, and that is we do studies. And we've proven it scientifically. As a result, we also have a patent on our eye sets, which stimulate the brain in particular ways that other manufacturers cannot make. The other thing, too, is many people say, oh, blinking lights. I can design a blinking light machine. That can't be hard. It is difficult to do it right. You have to modulate your waveforms. You have to control the frequencies. Or often we randomize them a bit to help dissociate people. And other people don't understand that. I have a 19-channel brain mapper downstairs. And we have biofeedback equipment here. We have breathing equipment. We can measure all this stuff going off a person while they're in training, and even post-entrainment to see how their body is now and their brain has changed its activity and how much it's boosted their brain power.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the time you've taken all these years to really keep it in-house so that you have a control, I guess, over how they're really being made and how much you can alter things here and there as soon as you realize that little tweaks would make it better. I know you've taken me around and the whole production is really exciting. But, I think that's another part of what makes you, be a leader here.
Well, true. The one thing that we did right from the start was we controlled our own design work and we control our own production. And the reason why we do that, some of the competitors would just slap together some machine made by some engineer who knows nothing about the brain or how the body feels or how you feel when you're being stimulated. And some of the stuff is pretty aggressive and leaves people feeling nauseous and upset after. Because I use it on myself, for instance. I have a mapper. I have probably 100 psychologists or more at any one time actively serving as active distributors for us. And we're getting their feedback too. So I'm very particular, and being that I'm an electronics designer at heart, with a lot of physiology training, because I used to teach physiology at the university, I can appreciate the subtleties and the nuances that have to go into this gear for a pleasant emotional experience or personal experience, plus a good brain experience. We have to cover both. And the other thing too about doing production in-house, and this has served us so many times, because in the early stages, we didn't really know all the things that are about entrainment. Nowadays, the technology is quite mature. At least it is mature within our own office here. And so when we had the biofeedback gear, we had consulting with psychologists, we were doing the brain mapping, and when we made discoveries, we could change our gear on the fly. People who are generating or manufacturing 10,000 machines out of China have to burn all that inventory up for the next 3 years. Well, how do you compete selling antiquated stuff when a company like us, whose research base is selling our gear on all these new discoveries, new stimulation techniques, and better results?
And now that you've got all these patents and this research behind you, I think it's 18 research?
There are actually
studies?
18 studies behind us.
Yeah,
here's an example of some of them. I've personally spent about $250,000 sanctioning these studies in both equipment, hiring students, and my own personal labor, about $250,000 so far. and we are the only company that spends money on R&D. I am the only person of all the companies that have ever existed who actively lectures and at conferences such as the Applied Psychophysiology of Biofeedback, or the International Society of Neurofeedback and Research, or the American College for the Advancement of Medicine, and several other societies I lecture for. And we're the only company that ever writes articles on research and on how this
thanks
works.
so much for your dedication to this field, because it's certainly paid off in what you've created. And now, if we're taking this to the masses, we might want to go offshore or whatnot, but they'll be just to be able to deliver to a large audience that really could benefit from this technology.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and if we do go offshore, it's partly because, A, we're still controlling that technology.
Absolutely.
And we have now taken the technology to such a point that it's quite mature now.
Yeah.
And I'm not changing designs and protocols
Right.
every 3 months like I used to. Because we've got the technology quite worked out. Here an example of some of the studies that have been done. The top one, Thomas and Siever, was my first study in 1988, where I discovered that blinking lights and pulsing tones were actually quite powerful clinically. Before, I didn't really know if they worked or didn't work. And you can see other studies on this, on pain, on dissociation, on post-traumatic stress disorder with war vets. This is ADD, Joyce and Siever, ADD. This is another a fear response to a dissociative challenge. This is another ADD study by Joyce. Kathy Berg, this is, for fibromyalgia. This is, Alan's study is on memory for college students. Berg, again, did another study on seniors with depression and risk of falling. We've got Telch, we've got Horowitz, we've got all these studies here.
Our next will be our emotional eating study.
The emotional eating study would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here I have my my David Delight Pro that I use, and I wanted to ask you about another feature that makes this device probably the first one on the market that incorporates all of this. I don't have my glasses or audio plugged in right now because I wanted to focus on this feature, which is CES, cranial electrical stimulation.
Yeah.
And so can you explain why it's a really great added benefit to this and to how it all kind of helps with our moods?
We've been manufacturing cranial electrostimulation products for over 20 years now. And cranial electrostimulation has at least about 140 studies done on it, covering a whole variety of issues. And we can see in this slide here, look at the studies on insomnia, on depression, on anxiety, on drug abstinence, which would be like addictive issues, right? Cognitive dysfunction, and so on. I mean, there's a lot of study done on CES, and we figure, well, why not drop it into the gear and combine it with the light and sound, because the light and sound is working on all these things as well. Just gives an added benefit. The other thing about CES that is unique is people with addictive issues start getting very anxious and as the cravings build, they get anxious. And then they will relieve the anxiety, of course, by
Re-engaging.
Yeah, re-engaging the habit. You can take that unit and put it in your pocket and put the ear clips on and go about your day shopping or whatever you want to do, or watching TV or going for a walk. Yeah,
it's super easy, right? So, yeah, it is really easy because you can put, yellow on left, blue on right, and you just keep those on your ears and put this on your pocket. And it does kind of feel a little shocking at the beginning, but I found that it actually feels really soothing right away.
Yes.
I tend to put it on the highest level because I like the feeling that I get right away in my ears.
That's right. Yeah, it's soothing and it has a nice little feeling. It probably takes your mind off your anxiety a little bit just because there's some little pitter-pattering going on. But it also increases serotonin and dopamine and helps keep you in the calmer zone, keep you out of need. So you would use the audio-visual and the cranial electrostim probably at home in your bedroom or on a couch and get that real powerful change in mind state, that real powerful relaxant, get you out of need completely. But it takes a little while for people with addictive issues to get those urges down. So that's when you could just run the CES and away you go about your day and stay in the zone.
Yeah, I always talk about doing the things that help to build calmness over time, which means building a practice. You know, you get up in the morning, you do a meditation, use the device, and then at night before you go to bed. But then you also have your emergency little tools that you use when that habit sort of pops out again.
Sure.
And you haven't quite reached the equilibrium that you're looking for. So you're using these tools in the moment too.
That's right, yeah. And the more you are calm, the less in need we are. The more calm you are, the less in need we are. And the less likely we're going to do something that's an emotionally based behavior because we're feeling needy, like eating, for example.
Right.
Here's a little something, too, that was interesting. This was done by Galula and Kirsch, and they compared cranial electrostimulation, the analysis of all the CES studies done on depression, and they compared it against an analysis of, or what they call a meta-analysis of studies done on different antidepressants.
It's amazing.
And this is their effectiveness over and above placebo. And you can see, like Prozac, for instance, only 10% more effective than placebo. What's the point? Especially when you can factor in all the side effects that accompany some of these drugs. And you can see in cranial electrostim, which has no side effects at all that are negative, that have ever been seen in 150 studies, and yet it is way more effective than all those antidepressants. And there's more. These antidepressant drugs run typically $1,000 to $2,000 a year for prescriptions. You can buy this system for $500 or $600, and that's it. You never have to spend another dime on it.
Right? So it's a huge return on our investment with this thing.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And again, it does two things. A, the whole family can use it. And B, you're not worrying about money. You don't need depression because you're worrying about paying for prescription meds.
That's amazing. That's so great. Well, Dave, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our time together doing the training and getting more involved in sharing this technology with the world is now, a new goal of mine. And so I think we're also on the same page as far as nutrition. I've told you a little bit about what I do in the emotional eating programs that I'm offering. I think you're on the same page there too, because you also get your clients to get on a better nutritional plan, right?
Indeed. I'm a real advocate for nutrition. I really do believe that nutrition should always be balanced first. This is the first line of treatment for anyone with emotional issues.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's been really great to visit.